Welcome back, and I'd like to say welcome on behalf of both of us to Rob Stary, who is one of Melbourne's leading solicitors and a mate of mine, with only two serious drawbacks. One is that he's a socialist, and the other is that he's going to support the pedophiles. But apart from that, you're a good bloke, Rob.
I think he's a good bloke because he stands up for human rights, which is rare amongst lawyers.
Stands up for the pedophiles.
Rare amongst lawyers. Rob, just to start with, though,
thanks for the introduction.
I know. With that introduction, let's just.
Yeah, well, you two guys just talk to yourselves.
We will,
this is the left wing in action. Why is it the left wing always supports pedophiles? I don't understand.
We're not supporting pedophiles, but there's a thing called due process.
But it is. There's nothing.
I just want to take up. Hang on, Peter.
Why is it the left?
Peter,
it's always the left that supports pedophiles.
Peter, I'd like. Do you reckon we might let our guest have a word here?
Don't you support kids or families?
I thought it was interesting when you asked for an example of vigilantism. You are an example of vigilantism. You're a vigilante.
No.
You and
I'm expressing my views.
You're self-proclaimed champions of the oppressed.
I'm not a champion of the oppressed. I noticed speak my views.
Didn't declare his conflict of interest acting for that other champion of the oppressed, Darren Hinch. Although you're doing it pro bono, I know that, Pete, and good luck to you. But
well, I told you two before we started I was acting for him.
That's all right, I don't have a problem.
I mean, you know, we're both heavily involved in all sorts of litigation.
He does need to be well represented, but...
he's got the best. He's got you, Peter.
There must be a conflict of interest there, surely.
Well, I'm...
You're a witness to...
I'm not concerned...
His incitement, and you're a witness to his rabble-rousing and his scaremongering.
Discuss that. Let's deal with pedophiles, which is what really is the embarrassing issue for you. Why is it that if there's a pedophile who's just been released from 15 years in jail, he's living next to you with your wife and your many children, why is it that you are not allowed to know who he is? Is that good?
Because once you pay your debt to society, you ought to have a right to return to the community and be reintegrated back into the community. I think Greg made the point before that if people are properly treated in jail, the support structures are there, they can assimilate back into the community, maybe with some monitoring.
Yeah, but if this fellow was a murderer, you'd know.
Try to live some sort of life of normality.
Well, hang on, Peter.
Every criminal, you could take a whole range of criminals living next to you, that would all be in the public domain, except for pedophiles with these orders.
Well, hang on, just go.
Because
I just want to pick up a point. Let's pick up a point that was made earlier, which was the point about what treatment. I mean, I don't think most people in the public, and they're our audience here, know. We might know, but they don't know what goes on in prison in terms of treatment for sex offenders in Victoria, to your knowledge.
Well, there's negligible treatment, and there's certainly under any of the monitoring regimes and those people that continue to be detained up at Ararat, it's appalling the level of treatment.
They're not detained at Ararat.
Well, hang on, let's go.
They're fenced in and in secure housing.
Well, they're living there because...
They don't have any freedom of movement.
They can live elsewhere if proper accommodation can be found.
And that hasn't been done. The government won't resource it. The government simply turns its back on it.
Yeah, but you're going to end up like what you've got in England, and attitude support that, which is that they be given a new identity and the ability to move freely.
Yeah, because I believe in this notion... I believe in this notion, Peter, that you've got a right to return to the community once you pay your debt to society and once you've been adequately treated and reformed in prison.
And you've got a right that the community doesn't know who you are?
Absolutely, because what you want to do, you don't want to identify any of the prospective victims.
But all criminals, the public knows who they are.
Because if most of these pedophilic offences occur within families or within close circles, once you identify the offender, you identify the victim.
Look at Glenn Wheatley. All criminals,
Peter,
are known when they return to the community, except for pedophiles.
Peter, can you rule out?
Why we protect pedophiles?
Peter,
can you rule out? Let's say Darren Hinch or the Herald Sun or a Current Affair or somebody else decides to name a person. Let's leave aside just a minute. Let's say that person's house then gets burnt down and they're driven out of their neighbourhood. Do you support that?
Or Greg, what happens if they accidentally burn my house down?
Yeah.
That's all right. I'm not so worried about that because you're one of these millionaire socialists. You can afford another one. But
how's that city apartment of yours going?
I've got, it's a very small apartment, I can tell you.
I want to say this to you, comrade. If you see what's happened in the UK, if you look at all the mistaken identity attacks on innocent civilians, because they think they're attacking some pedophile. They've got the wrong address, they've got the wrong person.
It's for the
it's
police
happened
to
there.
deal.
But how can you rule out that it won't happen here?
And
well, because I expect the police to make sure it doesn't happen.
But they haven't been able to do that in the UK, and they haven't been able to do it in the US.
But there's all sorts of people released for crimes, for example, rape and so on here. I don't know.
But it doesn't evoke the same sort of emotional outpouring that that you and the other Texas cowboys want to evoke.
So don't you think
the
public?
vigilantism?
So what's the public think about pedophiles? Do you think they have the same view as you?
Yeah, the public, I think, would say that people should be punished for the crime they're committed, and once you pay your debt to society, that's it.
People want a safe community,
so
don't they, Rob? I mean, people want a safe community. They want a safe community. They want people treated. They want people treated.
You can only have a safe community from
pedophiles. Hang on, Peter.
If you know who they are.
Peter, why are you obsessed with knowing who they are? What about
because every other criminal.
What about the victims? What about protecting the victims' rights for a change?
Yeah, they might not
identifying the pedophile, then you identify the families.
Obviously,
you identify the victims.
No. Obviously, if a man has sex with his young son or something, you don't identify him because it identifies the child.
What, are you going to be some exceptions to these rules?
But there's always exceptions in the law. You know that.
See,
let's just go.
If you look at the law reports, they never name. They always suppress the name of something which could identify the victim. That's always been an exception.
And you're a self-professed champion of the victims. I don't think you care about victims' rights at all.
If you cared about victims' rights, Peter, you would be concerned.
I do care about victims,
you would
and
be
I do
concerned.
something about it,
you would
which
be
is
concerned.
more than you guys do.
I'm very concerned about victims, and I don't want to see.
You
I don't want to see
selectively
innocent victims.
Why aren't you
selectively defend underworld killers?
That's my
people
job.
charged with drug dealing, people causing mayhem in the community.
That's the way the system works. If
Peter, would you represent a person accused of a sex offence?
I haven't done a sex case, either paedophilia, rape or whatever,
and the
since
hypocrisy in your position is unbelievable.
Why not?
Because I can't bring myself...
So underworld killers are okay?
And drug dealers who wreak untold havoc in the community, lives. They're okay.
That's my job, you see, and your ideology is what used to be called a fellow traveller, and before that, a communist.
Now, Peter, you've got to explain to some of our viewers because they're younger and they don't remember. They're born after the Berlin Wall came down in 1989, and they don't remember.
I'll just go back to my first.
They don't remember.
I'll say this to you, brother.
I'll go back to my first question. Why is it that you always support the pedophiles and not the children? I mean, I just find that disgusting.
Well, Peter, what you're doing is reducing. What you are doing is reducing the argument. It's this reductionist game.
Well,
why don't you either support one or the other?
Why shouldn't pedophiles be named in the same way that all other criminals are named?
Well, they should be punished for the crimes they commit. You know that. And what you shouldn't do is do anything that would expose the victims at some sort of risk.
No, we're not talking about
or
the
other
victims.
innocent people. When
your
your vigilante groups start running down the street, burning houses and bombing cars and attacking people.
Has that ever happened in Australia?
It's happened in the UK. It's happened in the UK and happened in the US. And it'll happen here if you and your other vigilante friends get away with it.
Guys, just one last, because we've got to go to a break in a minute, but just one last point to make.
You're going to tell me why you don't protect the children?
The risk of making life more difficult for those who are released after having been convicted and sentenced for pedophile offences is that you stress them and they re-offend. Now, do you want to cause that?
Oh, right.
You want vigilantes living next door to them that then stresses? You know what the stress is?
So they re-offend because of the stress.
Well, because if you want the vigilantes,
now we
know what causes pedophilia.
That's not what I said.
Dr. Barnes.
Not what I said.
Pedophilia is caused by stress.
At least he's trying to address the problem.
Unlike
rubbish.
You,
he's expressing his ideology, which is...
What's the ideology of talking about stress? Stress is
we know your position. You want to see them all hung, drawn and quartered. We know that.
We know that.
No, not at all.
We've now got to take a break, so we're going to go to a break. But thanks very much, Rob Stary, for coming in today for that... what we could describe as a very lucid and intellectual debate, I think, on that issue. We're going to come back in a moment and we're going to discuss this issue further and wrap up the program. Thank you.